basis on which the figures which the government were using on Saturday were compiled, and they haven't been able to get hold of them. So much of this stuff is guesswork, dressed up as science, so-called stochastic or modeling. And people think that because it's presented to us in men with white coats or with large qualifications, that it must be true. It's speculative. There's a fascinating piece of information now available, and something which everybody should read. I connected to it a lot at the end of last week. Fraser Nelson, the editor of The Spectator, last week wrote on his blog an extraordinary article on what actually happened during March and April, on the way in which, although we were under the impression that the intensive care beds in hospitals were completely overwhelmed, this simply was not so. And also because we were under the impression that many people were under the impression that the shutdown on March the 23rd had led to the subsequent fall in COVID cases. This also wasn't true. It's now pretty much accepted. I remember arguing about this at the time, that the period between infection and death, if death is the end of the infection, is approximately 4 weeks. It's simply not possible that a lockdown, which began on March the 23rd, could have led to the peaking of COVID deaths in this country on April the 8th. So these incredibly important pieces of information, which tell us what happened last time, seem to me to be very useful in judging what's going on now. The other thing, of course, is what do the figures mean? The most touted figure, which is constantly wheeled out by the BBC, the figure of supposed infections, is actually a figure of positive tests of doubtful accuracy, mainly conducted on people who are perfectly healthy, and doesn't really mean anything because the more tests you have, the more positives you'll get. The second figure of hospital admissions, I've been trying for weeks without success to get from government information services such details as the people who are listed as COVID admissions in hospitals, how many of them came to hospital because they have COVID? And how many of them were actually tested and found to have COVID after they arrived? This simple fact is not obtainable. As to so it's almost impossible to get accurate figures about the real occupation of intensive care. Of intensive care beds in real time.
No, that's quite right. Also,
all these things are just constantly touted as if we were on the brink of a disaster whose existence is in some doubt.
Well, indeed, not just in some doubt, but based, as Carl Hennigan said this morning to Julia Hartley-Brewer, on out-of-date modelling. He says that he's looked at the modelling that was announced on Saturday, and he reckons it was done about 3.
We will make America great again.